Do your hair a favor by checking in online and arriving just in time for your Sport Clips MVP haircut experience while you surround yourself with sports on TV, fresh cut, massaging shampoo, and hot steam towel. Claim your spot today. SportClips.com/check-in.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you are here with us. I do like the chances, guys, of something to change that in college sports that I think should have changed a long time ago. Matt Chick, who works for us, you did what, the Belk Bowl with him?
Belk.
Put out these tweets, and he said, I heard you talking about this morning on my way in. I spoke with an NCAA official this week who was, air quotes now, 95% certain transfers will soon be allowed to play immediately in basketball and football. So in other words, we've always had this issue that if you wanted to play at the same level and you wanted to leave your school for whatever reason and go to another school, you had to sit out a year. And I've always thought that was patently unfair, especially when a coach can basically do whatever he wants and leave whatever he wants.
And we've seen it.
With no ramifications whatsoever. So to me, if the coach who's making money and getting paid should be allowed to do this, I have no problem, none, zero, zip, with players allowed to move should certain situations that brought them to that school change.
It's one of those things where, and also in this string of tweets, it hints that there would have to probably be a window of time for these transfers to take place to help better manage what would go on. There would likely be academic requirements attached to this.
Which I'm fine with, by the way.
Absolutely, especially because whether it's for football or basketball, and especially because it's going to be two very different animals the way it's applied to both. In basketball, where the one-and-done model is still very much a part of how they do business, and then in football, where graduate transfers have long been part of the equation, but this now opens it up in interesting ways. I've been surprised this morning at the amount of people that seem to be in favor of this, because in general, it's something that creates more volatility for teams. And usually a lot of the fan pushback on this is the fact that they understand that this could negatively affect their team because it changes the system altogether.
Yeah, it does. And I don't imagine the people you heard that were for this were many coaches, because I can't imagine any coach that's going to be for this. So if we look at this, here's how it normally works. You go to a college, go to play football or basketball. If you want to transfer, you can. Then you go to that next school and you sit, unless you're a fifth-year player. Your brother, my son Jake, did that. Jake went as a graduate transfer and played at Cincinnati, where you don't have to sit.
Correct.
You do not have to wait. So technically, this is what you could do. You could literally play for 3 teams and never sit. You could go to a school. 2 years later, you could, if this happens, you could leave and go to another school and play immediately. And then when you're at that other school, you could graduate. And then if you have another year of eligibility, go to a graduate transfer to a third school and not have to sit at all. So technically, you go to, correct?
Yes.
You can go to 3 schools.
It would be a one-time freedom of transfer. It wouldn't be like you could do multiple.
Exactly. And that's the one thing about this. It's a one-time go. You can't play your freshman year somewhere, transfer and not have to sit, and then don't like the next place you're at and transfer again and not sit. It's not going to work that way. So why would the coaches be against this? I mean, listen, it would be a bit chaotic for the fact that you recruit a kid and you think you have a kid. Now what happens? In-season recruiting. Every player sitting on that bench may be getting recruited by another team. Again, not openly, because I'm sure that won't be legal. I don't know what the rules will be, but they'll be recruited. Hey, if you're not playing here or you don't like it here, come play for me, because now you can move freely. You'll see, I don't know if there'll be separate rules for coaches that are leaving like crazy and a player follows that coach. Would that be allowed without having to sit just to follow that coach? And for those that are saying the players shouldn't be allowed to do it, that's not right. They're on scholarship. Understand one thing. These scholarships are year to year.
Correct.
Now,
it's not a 4-year contract.
Now you
some
can
of them
do
have
it.
changed to 4-year agreements.
Some have done it, because what you would see is a guy get a scholarship 2 years later, another coach comes in, and that player all of a sudden loses a scholarship, because scholarships are year to year. So what some schools are doing is now giving kids 4-year scholarships, so that can't happen to them. But for the most part, that's what they've been, year to year scholarships. So, man, if the kid has to go year to year and has the possibility of getting their scholarship taken away, why can't they leave and go somewhere else?
Junior, I want to ask you this question, because you went to Notre Dame. You were there for 5 years. The first 3 years, you didn't really play at all. You played, you started 6 games your 4th year, and then every game your 5th year. Had this been available to you because you weren't seeing the field, would that have been something you would have thought about?
Probably would have thought about it, but I don't think it's something I would have gone through. Even I had qualms about even considering the option of a graduate transfer, just because for me, I was sort of a unique case where Notre Dame meant something a little bit more to me. It was a place that was special in a lot of different ways, and
well, some other slappy went there before you.
Exactly. So. Now, listen, if I had gotten to my last year and I hadn't played at all, I mean, there was a difference because I was incentivized by finishing out the end of that season as the starter because of injury there. But no, I think I was a unique case and where I would have been more likely to stay put. And that's what I always go back to with people, because to kind of where this question leads is on the other side, people just assume, well, kids are going to be wantonly transferring with no regard. It's not the MO of guys to want to move around this much.
Right.
I've seen kids that were, in a lot of senses, had this decision made for them by their parents where they would leave and transfer to other places. And it wasn't always something that the kids wanted. Guys want to be around. I mean, there's still the aspect of you're with guys you know. You're at a place that you chose for a reason. If the coach hasn't left, then there's still a lot of continuity around there that would mean you would want to stay. Yeah. We're talking about circumstances that dictate
exactly
this.
Right.
Any system is going to get abused, but I think for the most part, you're going to have kids that want to do this because either the circumstances have grossly changed, coaches haven't lived up to what they've promised on one end of this, and they want to make sure that they give themselves the best chance in a limited window to appeal for jobs after college.
Or a coach changes as well. Nobody goes to a school, takes a scholarship to a school and says, oh, I can't wait to transfer. You're going there for a reason. So Mike, I think you spelled it out perfectly of other reasons that you would go.
You did good, son.
And for those that will say, oh, these kids are afraid of competition now, work to try and be a starter. Listen, partially I understand that a little bit, but you have 4, maybe 5 years to do what you can do if you want to get a look at the next level. So you have to put yourself in a position to try and get looked at. So a lot of people, people that just say, oh, he didn't want to work, so he's going to run and go transfer somewhere else. Just like you said, Mike, circumstances can change. You need to make the most of your opportunity to try and get on the field, to try and get some tape to prove yourself.
And when we talk about circumstances changing, there are a couple things. One, what you think at 17 and what you think at 18, once you get there, might be completely different. And the other thing that always changes, well, to me, it's Willie Taggart is the symbol of this, okay? Willie Taggart, 2016, coach at South Florida. 2017, Oregon. This year, he's going to be at Florida State. Yep. I believe Willie Taggart's teams have qualified for 4 bowl games. He's coached them in one of them because he's left to find the next big thing. And good for him if he can do it.
Right.
I'm not in any way saying he shouldn't be able to do this. But if he's doing this and Willie Taggart is sitting, or any coach is sitting in that living room and saying, I'm going to take care of your son. I'm going to make sure that we develop him. And then he bails, and we can pretend they always go for the school, but they mostly go because they like the coach at the school.
Like the coach and the way the coach plays that can maybe help them out. Right.
And if that changes, absolutely that kid should have the freedom to say, wait a minute, this is not what I was promised, and it's not working out, so I want to be able to have the right to explore and see if there's a different option.
And I think that's a great point, Trey, is we entrust kids with this decision when they're 16 and 17 to choose this, but then we act like, well, these kids are irrational. They won't be able to make this decision at 18 or 19. Well, we just made them do that before, so that part's interesting. I'm interested where it goes unintended consequences-wise, because to your point, it's going to change the way, depending on when this window is. We just signed up for that early signing period in college football. So when this happens, how does that change the way coaches allocate scholarships? How does that affect kids on the team if all of a sudden you've got a guy that's eligible to transfer and you're 1 or 2 scholarships over? Is there negative blowback on guys that are already there because of that? So there are a lot of things, like any other system, you only learn once you get in it and see it play out. But you can already play out some scenarios where this could have certain negative side effects for some guys that are already in the places they are.
The big thing, like you said, is when would they do it differently for different times for football and basketball? Coaches are going to hate this.
Of course, because they want control,
instability of their roster.
And right now, they have the ability to say, "Oh yeah, tough. This guy's going to be here until you." I mean, they have all the control.
And you know what?
They want that.
You know what other control they have is? I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah, I'll go take that job, and I'll see you. I can go.
Exactly.
And again, they're right to do. They can do it. So I really don't have an issue with this.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. So we talked a lot about this, Mike, yesterday, because Paul Pierce made an issue of it, whether or not it was right that Isaiah Thomas, when The Cavs come back on February 11th, was going to have a video tribute of him shown when it was Paul Pierce's night, when his jersey was going to be retired. And Paul Pierce took umbrage with this. In fact, took so much umbrage that Isaiah Thomas had to put something out on Twitter saying, look, don't show my video. I don't want to take away from Paul Pierce's day, which we thought, okay, how does a 3-minute tribute somewhere during the game have any effect on the huge ceremony that's going to take place with Paul Pierce? And apparently, we weren't the only ones who thought those two things could have gone on equally together. Well, last night during our NBA coverage on ESPN, Jalen Rose, sitting right next to Paul Pierce, weighed in.
Next, I gotta say a word for you, fam. I think it was petty.
Ooh. On who?
On Paul Pierce's part.
In what part?
I love Paul. This is my brother.
Part?
Because to me, there are going to be all type of announcements that happen the 48 minutes during that game.
Okay.
All types.
Okay.
Including celebrating Isaiah Thomas could be one of them. Does not take away from your situation like Kobe's that happened during the game because they're doing yours post-game.
Right. But throughout the game, you're going to have different memories from the time I spent there. So now you take another 2 minutes from the memories.
You just said that, Jay.
And put that, and this is the thing. Like,
dude, they're going to be playing trivia videos all night for him.
Can I tell you something about your birthday? It ain't only your birthday. A lot of people's birthday happen that time.
That's the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless from Jalen Rose.
The closing line there, your birthday, it's not just your birthday, it's others as well that celebrate it. I'm
Team Jalen here.
Again, usually those tribute videos, they show it right before the game when they're, or early on in the game, a tribute, a couple of minutes, and it's done. You still have the entire game to do all the memories. Okay, then we put that aside and we do all the memories and highlights of Paul Pierce. And then, as Jalen said, it's after the game they do the ceremony. I'm amazed this has turned into what it did. And I'll say it turned into what it did because of Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce talked about it. And
we love Paul. Let's be clear about that. He does great stuff for us.
It's not like or dislike. Yeah. It's about we analyze a situation. We give an opinion about a situation. And I think this one got ridiculous.
Yeah. And kudos to Jalen for saying, hey, I got to shoot. You
got to know somebody really well to say, I got to say you were petty on this one.
Their relationship has to be pretty good.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of it's not like or dislike, among the people that liked the link that went out there with Jalen using the word petty would be one Isaiah Thomas.
Oh,
he liked it. He liked it. Look, there's a lot of things you can get into here. One of the things that we talked about, and I understand that once this thing is in motion, there are certain things, but they could have picked one of 41 home games to retire Paul Pierce's jersey, right? They had they're going to have 41 opportunities.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, okay, it was February 11th. That's what I had said at the time. I said it's the last time he's Isaiah Thomas coming there outside of maybe the playoffs. So. Do it then, and you have any other. But I guess it would be like, oh, wait, now we're changing. Then it would be deemed as we're changing the night of the retiring the jersey for a video, a video tribute to a guy that'd been there. Steven Jackson said for a couple of years. They're giving everybody a video tribute. This one to me got childish.
Yeah.
And if you want to use the word petty, that's fine as well. I think it's crazy. I think either one could have said right away, whether Isaiah said right away, listen, I don't need it, just do your thing. Or, Paul Pierce could have said, yeah, if you're going to show his tribute video early on, when he comes back, that's cool. And the rest of the night is his. I can't believe, I'm amazed sometimes at some of the back and forth that goes on.
But kudos to Jalen. And by the way, kudos to Beetle. Michelle, her reaction. Woo! She was, it almost was like she wasn't expecting that to happen.
There was a couple of times when sometimes it would even be on the phone, but when someone was here, I would go at it with him, and Greeny would always say after the show how scared he actually got, like he thought something was going to happen.
Like someone's going to come through the phone and punch you?
He wanted to kind of stay out, out of it, got worried. And, I don't know what, I doubt that. Obviously, that's not going to happen there, but when it starts to get a little contentious, that didn't really seem to go down that road. Like I said, I'm sure that's a good relationship there where you feel you could say that to somebody's face.
Yeah. Well, again, they worked it out. Hopefully.
They did.
Hopefully they worked it out. Meanwhile, as we continue here, we're just a couple of days away from Conference Championship Sunday, which I think is the best day of the entire football year. One team that thought they'd be playing there would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They fell in the divisional round. They had a home game, and they were beaten for the second time this regular and postseason by the Jacksonville Jaguars. There have been ramifications already. Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, announced after we got off the air yesterday that he would not be coming back. His contract was up, and it would not be renewed, even though they were the third best offense in the NFL and put up 42 points in the playoff loss to Jacksonville. Clearly, there must have been some other issues with Todd Haley as the offensive coordinator for that to be the case. But don't think that that's going to be the only issue. Here is our Bill Polian, our Hall of Famer, our NFL insider, and 6-time NFL Executive of the Year, weighing in on what else might be going down in Pittsburgh.
There's a lot of talk, especially on the internet, about Mike Tomlin underachieving. Mike Tomlin didn't underachieve. Haley didn't underachieve. The only part of that football team that underachieved was the defense. And that was missing Shazier for this last month of the season and this playoff run. So in that sense, this record and the way this season finished is understandable and somewhat puzzling in the sense that the offensive coordinator was responsible for the greatest offensive performance in Steeler playoff history is out the door. So it has to be personality driven or there's some other internal issue in the organization.
Yeah, I mean, look, statistically, the Steelers were very good on both offense and defense. We said third overall
scoring and offense,
and fifth overall on defense.
Yeah,
in the metric which the NFL uses is yards per game.
Well, in the last four of his last 6 years, he was in the top 10 in offense. Haley had that offense, so I completely agree. It was more driven than what you saw on the field because this was an offense that was putting up numbers and they were putting up yards and they were putting up points. So, but it right off the bat, we've talked about this when Haley first got to Pittsburgh. There seemed to be a personality clash with Ben.
He's a persnickety guy, for lack of a better term. He can rub people the wrong way. It's some of the things that happened to him when he was in Kansas City as the head coach, and we've heard stories about this in other places as well. But the bottom line, he was producing. There's no question about that.
Absolutely was producing. Good news, it looks like they're going to hang on to their offensive line coach and Mike Munchak, their O-line. They had 3 All-Pros this year, or Pro Bowlers on it this year. He turned down a second interview with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think I've ever didn't see a reason why he did that. Don't know, but he pulled himself out of the running there. And I don't know if it was maybe did he think he might be in the running for the offensive coordinator position. I'm just, supposing something like that, but it looks like the quarterback coach is going to be the guy that's going to be in line for that, for the offensive coordinator job. And it seems like there's not going to be any defensive changes on that staff. We know the injury to Shazier was certainly hurt that defense, but and then this group of minority owners who, again, don't have any power in their say, but supposedly want to get to Art Rooney and say, we don't think this head coach should be there anymore. So you'll wonder if all the changes are going to be done on that staff.
Well, look, there's a lot of issues and there's some people that are taking subtle, not so subtle jabs at Mike Tomlin. First of all, he's not going anywhere. Just let's understand that. He's not going anywhere.
I agree.
We said this before yesterday. I'll say it again. Since 1969, Pope's 4, Steelers head coaches 3. They don't make changes willy-nilly. They don't do it. And I don't think they should. Since he got there in 2007, Mike Tomlin is second in career wins, fifth in playoff wins, and the only coach who's made it to the Super Bowl more frequently than Mike Tomlin's Steelers, Bill Belichick. So I get it. You think that maybe they should have gotten there more. Well, that would mean they'd have to beat arguably the greatest coach and the greatest quarterback all time in their own conference, and that would be the Patriots with Belichick and Brady. So the metric that you're using doesn't add up to why he shouldn't be there, because he's had success. He's had more success than anybody but Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Okay? And Bill Belichick is the gold standard of gold standards when it comes to the NFL and maybe all of coaching.
Everybody's chasing them, it's somewhat like everybody's chasing Golden State. Now,
yes.
I think there's more distance between Golden State and everybody else than New England and everybody else, but still, that's who, when the season starts, you're saying, okay, if we want to get to the Super Bowl, we probably are going to have to go through that team.
Yep.
Just like you say in basketball, if you're going to win the championship, or you want to get to the championship and you're in the West, you got to go through Golden State. And if you're in the East and you want to win it, you got to beat Golden State. That's the thought in the AFC for New England. So they've been close. I know the frustration. You could sense it because they've had so much talent there, and it just hasn't been realized to its fullest in some people's minds.
Because of that other team.
Right.
One last thing. Here's the list of head coaches who've won more playoff games than Mike Tomlin over the last 3 years. Bill Belichick. End of list.
It's a short list.
It's a very short list.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey guys, is it time to get your hair in the game? Time to claim your spot! Then it's time to check in online at sportclips.com/check-in for a fresh cut, legendary hot steam towel and massaging shampoo. Time to claim your spot! So do your hair a favor by checking in online and arrive just in time for your Sport Clips MVP haircut experience while you surround yourself with sports on TV. Get in line online at sportclips.com/check-in. Time to claim your spot!
Our NFL insider, Adam Schefter, in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. First up, Straight Talk. You need to explain to people just how much of an NBA junkie you are. I mean, you really are, right?
Well,
as he's breaking news right now on his
No. As the last few years, I've gotten into it.
Fantasy is a big part of it for you.
I love playing daily fantasy basketball. We have an ESPN fantasy basketball league here, and so I think I've made more moves than anybody in the league. I make a move almost every single day, watch games every single night, and started a few years ago. My wife walked in after the Super Bowl, and I was watching basketball, playing fantasy basketball, and she didn't think anything of it. She walked into the bedroom the second night. I'm watching more basketball. Third night, she walked in, and it finally hit her, and she goes, "What's this about? Well, I thought you were football. Well, now basketball too." And it's kind of carried on, and it's kind of my escape, my break, my release, and yeah, I really got into it. And I can tell you basically any player on any team now.
The versatility of Adam Schefter.
I mean, we're in the war room watching the games in the divisional round, and he's going on about what Anthony Davis is doing with the Pelicans and things. I mean, Adam, focus! It's a regular season game, and we're watching this great game between the Vikings and the Saints. And he's like, "Wow, Anthony Davis pulled down another 2 boards."
Put the Bucks heat on the one TV in the corner over there,
so you can peek over at that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we got openings, 5 openings in the NFL. We have coaches that are in the works for this that are still coaching. Mm-hmm. Just for everybody's edification out there, how it all works of when these teams, do they have to wait all the way, if they want coaches that are going to the Super Bowl, they got to wait till after this.
Right.
How does it all work of when the dominoes can start to fall for these
Well, you're not
teams?
allowed to hire a coach until after they're done. So we'll use Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions, for example, right? So the Detroit Lions can interview him, like him. He could like them. They could say, I like you. I think I wouldn't mind joining you. I wouldn't mind joining you. You are not allowed to talk contract and agree to a contract. You're not allowed to publicly announce a hire. But I think both sides can know, okay, that the coach intends to join that staff and that staff intends to hire that coach, and you go on from there. So you've got a few situations here. Now, look, things could also change
sure.
during the course of that time. But I think everybody expects that Matt Patricia will wind up in Detroit. Josh McDaniels winds up in Indianapolis, Pat Shurmur with the Giants, and then that leaves us with the Arizona Cardinals and the Tennessee Titans, who still have openings and are still conducting interviews. Mike Vrabel, the Texans defensive coordinator, is in Tennessee today to interview with the Titans. I believe he becomes the first candidate to interview for that job, and that's partly because they had weather delays and weather factors. So maybe somebody got in that I don't know about prior, but Vrabel will interview with the Titans today. The Cardinals, they're ready to get into their second round of interviews. And I think Mike Munchak would have been a prime candidate, but declined the chance to interview a second time with Arizona. So they'll move on to their other candidates as well right now.
Okay, so those are coaching situations where there are openings. There's going to be coaching changes in Pittsburgh. Todd Haley is on the way out, even though they were third best offense and put up 42 points in a playoff loss. So clearly there were some issues, some personality-driven issues, and that has been sort of the deal with Todd Haley. He can rub some people the wrong way, but he's very good at his job. What do you make of these people that are saying, wait a minute, we should be winning more with Mike Tomlin, and we have some concerns about him?
I think it's absurd. Yeah. I think that in this day and age, everything is going to come under scrutiny, and there's always going to be questions. And if you fall short, like the Pittsburgh Steelers fell short, people are going to say, hey, what about this guy? I mean, look, number one, You want to move on from Mike Tomlin? If Mike Tomlin were let go, how long after would he have a job in Arizona or Tennessee?
Yeah, 7
okay,
seconds.
and who in Pittsburgh would they hire that you would want that would be an upgrade over Mike Tomlin?
Bill Belichick.
Okay, well,
that's the list.
Well, you had him in the Giants. Now we got him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep up making things that aren't going to happen here.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to happen. So it just, to me, it's laughable that a franchise that has been the most stable franchise in all of football, that doesn't change coaches, but rarely, all of a sudden is making a head coach. It's not happening.
So we talk about coaches that if they were available, how quickly they would get a job, and we all believe Tomlin's staying. How about Todd Haley? Is Todd Haley going to be snapped up as an O coordinator somewhere, or does he have a reputation of having a bit of a reputation, not so much X's and O's wise, even though you can question some of the calls, but friction at times?
You could have a reputation like that, but the fact of the matter is there are I believe, a shortage of effective, experienced, proven play callers in this league. How many of them can do that job? And how many teams are looking for somebody like that? So Todd Haley is going to get some consideration in New York with the Jets. Now, I don't know that ultimately he gets that job. I think Jeremy Bates, their quarterback's coach, is probably the favorite, but Haley will be in the discussion. He will get consideration. What if Brian Flores gets the job in Arizona? Wouldn't it make sense for Todd Haley to be his offensive coordinator? And I'm just making this up. When Todd Haley's got experience in Arizona, and he would need somebody that would have experience in that area. I think that there'll be work for Todd Haley. He's just got too much on his resume for him not to get work, but there aren't that many openings right now.
And for those Flores is the linebacker coach with the New England Patriots right now, so they could potentially lose 3 of their. That's
never happened before. An NFL team has never lost 3 assistant coaches in the same offseason, if we're going to call it that.
Right.
2 head coaching jobs with other teams. We've seen teams lose 2. I remember when the 49ers lost Mike Shanahan to the Broncos and Pete Carroll at that point in time to the Jets.
Yep.
But in this particular time, we've never seen one team lose 3. And the Patriots could lose 3 assistants.
And the interesting thing there is the long list of Belichick disciples off that coaching tree. Outside of Bill O'Brien, there really hasn't been a lot of success for them at the NFL level. So that sort of made it interesting. But, hey, Matt Patricia's a rocket scientist, so I'm not putting anything past him when he goes and takes that job in Detroit, we believe. Adam, what do we make of the hand injury with Tom Brady? We've seen him have a sore Achilles during the season, and boy, when your Achilles is sore, you're close to being done pretty quickly, but that has sort of seemed to massage itself, and it's gotten better. But when there's an issue but there's an issue when you're on the injury report for jamming your right hand, which is your throwing hand. How much of a red flag do you think that is?
Well, let me say this. Let me go back a second to the Achilles, because it's interesting. Richard Sherman was on the injury report.
Yes, with a sore Achilles.
And then he blew it out in that Thursday night game at Arizona.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Smith, the Ravens cornerback, had been playing with Achilles soreness all year long. And then a couple of weeks after Richard Sherman tore his Achilles, when he basically been talking to Jimmy Smith about taking care of his Achilles, he tore his Achilles. And Tom Brady's been on the injury report this year with that Achilles injury. And you always have to wonder about that. He's had some shoulder issues. You wonder about that. Now he's got the banged up hand. Look, he has set every record here and done things that no other quarterback or player ever has. But he also is 40 years old.
Yep.
And the thing that happened in practice yesterday, him banging his hand, that could happen with a 20-year-old player as well as a 40-year-old player. But I do think it's another sign of all these things just mounting up. The older you get, the tougher it is to bounce back from some of these injuries. And the people that you talk to about this hand injury from practice yesterday, they say, quote unquote, it should be okay. They don't expect it to be an issue and will operate under that theory that it's not going to be a problem. And these things aren't a problem until they are. When you get into the game, you're like, whoa, it's impacting the way he's throwing the football. Again, is he going to play? Yeah. Is he going to be Tom Brady? Yeah. Is it going to affect him? I don't know yet. We don't know. We don't know.
As far as the quarterbacks overall, you have Brady, Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, Nick Foles. So 3 of those 4 are not really franchise quarterbacks. So all of a sudden there's this thought, and it's laughable a bit to me because it's a one-year thing.
We shot it down.
Where people are starting to say, maybe you don't really need a franchise quarterback.
Allow me to blow holes in that theory right now.
We did that yesterday, so feel free.
Okay, and I didn't hear your segment, but I'll just say this to you. First of all, Nick Foles, by and large, didn't do a lot to get Philadelphia.
They're there because of Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz won the division.
Yes.
Nick Foles stepped in, and they won a game to clinch home field advantage.
Correct.
Here's Nick Foles, okay? Right. And the game last week could have went either way. Blake Bortles is there with an elite defense, with a coaching staff that's been great, that has had a lot of experience, with a strong running game. If you can assemble a defense and running game and coaching staff as good as Jacksonville's, and you have a quarterback that's a middling quarterback, then you also have a chance to get to the AFC or conference championship game. And Case Keenum, while you may not think of him as an elite level quarterback, the people who have watched him on film this year say he's played at an elite level. Yeah. He's been an MVP candidate. And he's played like a really good quarterback. So here they are in the Final Four. We have Tom Brady. Who's Tom Brady? Case Keenum, who's played like a great quarterback and is going to get paid this offseason like a great quarterback. Nick Foles, who didn't really contribute much of anything, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, to put Philadelphia into the position it's in today. And Blake Bortles, who's surrounded by a lot of great units.
Look, if you put Case Keenum's numbers up and didn't put his name or his face next to it, you would look at that quarterback and say,
I'll take him.
He had a hell of a year. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this. I think they're buying into what the perception of Case Keenum was before this season. 68% complete, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 14 starts. What team wouldn't sign up for that right now?
And by the way, if Case Keenum were on the open market, he would be paid as a top quarterback.
Well, he will be once the season is over. You know, all three of those guys are up. By the way, real quickly, what do you think they do there? I think they franchise tag Keenum, which keeps him in place. They try and work out something with Bridgewater, which gives them flexibility. I don't think Bradford's coming back.
I agree with what you said.
Yeah,
and you were not the first person to say that to me.
Yeah,
I've had other people suggest that to me, and I would think that would be the most logical way for this to go.
Wow, me and Logic. That
how about that?
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah, it's rare. That's like me doing NBA daily fantasy. Very rare. See you on NFL Live today.
I look forward to that. Are you doing the show?
Doing the show today.
Great. Me, you, Teddy.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Who else?
Golick.
I'll be home.
No, you're going to do it.
And probably not watching.
You're going to walk the dogs instead?
Yeah.
I don't like you at all. All right, Schefter, thanks very much.
Guys.
Help me with my fantasy team.
Golick and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
All right, it is time, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do a little...
It's time for another edition of Love It or Shove It.
That didn't go well.
With Golick and Wingo.
All right, it is time for Love It and Shove It, brought to you by Granger. Bubba is
It's Love It or Shove It, thanks.
Yeah, sure, Love It or Shove It, brought to you by Granger.
Granger.
Boy, diva. He's become a diva.
All of a sudden, he gets talent next to his name, and he becomes tough to deal with.
Did that really actually happen?
Yeah, no, that's my little fonting. It's Bubba Peregrine talent. I hope they're doing it. Fortin, thanks, do it.
They doing it? Let me see it. Yeah, I don't see it.
I don't either.
Quickly.
I doubt we will.
I don't see it.
Yeah, we're not going to see it.
You ready for this?
Fibers must be
down.
down.
Ready to start? Ready to start?
Yeah, I'm
wait,
ready.
hold on. Cliff, you get the first question.
Yep.
All right. The Rockets being upset that no Clippers were suspended as a result of Monday night situation. Love it or shove it.
Yeah, see,
wow.
you took
All right,
shots
well, I'm just
at
gonna
Cliff.
go because this is
shots at Cliff for the board operator, so we're going to back our guy.
That was a smooth read by Cliff.
Cliff, you're very good at that.
Yeah.
We should think about maybe incorporating you into Love It or Shove It.
Would you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I should take it over.
Cliff, would you want to work with Bubba? Bubba, would you want to work with Cliff?
I'm open to anything.
Bubba, how about you?
Not necessary. I got this covered, all right? Granger wants Love It or Shove It with me.
Diva.
Not this board op.
Oh,
hey, way to open the hour with Smash Mouth. What are you doing?
He's winning. Cliff is winning.
Wow. All right. By the way,
we get a beardo.
Yeah. By the way, we have no idea what the question was again. Bubba, why don't you go ahead and read the first question?
But Cliff, you nailed it.
Yeah, you did.
The Rockets being upset that no Clippers were suspended as a result of Monday night's situation. Love it or shove it?
I mean, listen, I can see it from their end, but I shove this. I don't know what the Clippers did. If you can't prove that Blake Griffin elbowed the coach, what are you going to suspend them for? They didn't go to the Rockets locker room. The Rockets came to their locker room. So I don't really see, and a lot of it is just, jabbing back and forth.
Blah, blah, blah.
What are you getting suspended for? So I shoved that one.
How dare I be in my locker room?
Yes, exactly.
Right? How
Sitting
awful is that?
where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I'm totally shoving that one. But let's get the real talents question answer to that. Cliff, love it or shove it? What do you think?
Shove it. You got to shove it.
Yeah,
you got to shove it.
There you
Simple
go.
as that.
There you go.
The steam coming off Brandon's
the breakdown of that.
Bubba is really upset. All right, you ready? Go with the next one. Here we go.
LeBron James saying this has been the most challenging season of his career. Love it or shove it?
I mean, listen, I'm not there, so I obviously don't know, but I understand. And the reason he's saying that is for all the games that players have missed, especially a guy like Isaiah Thomas, who's just coming back and getting in to the fold here of no continuity of guys being together on the court. I think hopefully they'll have enough of that by the playoff to get that familiarity. But I can understand that because he prefaced it by saying because of all the injuries and the different rotations and starters. So I'll say I love it.
I love it too. Look, he's playing as best as he's ever played in terms of statistics. He's averaging, 27, almost 9 assists and 8 boards a game, or is it 8
Either
boards?
way, it's good.
It's 8.8 and 8. So he's playing really well, but you're right. For LeBron, it's not about how he's playing. It's about what this team is doing. And they're mired in a 3-9 funk. So I'm going to love the fact that he's out there open and honest and he wants to try and get it turned around. All right, Bubba.
The Jaguars should put Jalen Ramsey on Rob Gronkowski. Love it or shove it?
Rob Gronkowski is 6'6", 265 pounds. Okay, so now Jalen Ramsey is a great cover corner.
Freak show.
There's no doubt about that. But you have to, size does matter, gang, in this one, okay? I'm going to say Jalen Ramsey is 6'1", 208. That's what he's listed as. You look at their linebackers who are very athletic. Miles Jack is only 6'1" as well at 244. He's bigger, though. Telvin Smith is 6'3", 215. So if Jalen Ramsey, and I think they're going to switch it up, and I think a decent amount could be double coverage as well with help over the top on him. But Jalen Ramsey, while I think he could stay with Gronkowski, what happens when the ball's coming? One's 6'1", one's 6'6", one's 265, one's 210. I mean, that's a tough matchup for Jalen Ramsey. Even you could be covering him as well as you can cover anybody, but it may not matter. But at least your linebackers are a little bigger, and I think they're athletic enough to run with Gronk. But, in a matchup, I think Gronk overtakes all of them. So while I'll say I would say I'd shove this. I think it's going to be different people that are going to be on him.
Well, I think I'm gonna shove it too because I think Jalen will be part of it. I mean, Bill Polian came on the show and talked about they might want to use Ramsey in the same way the Bills used Tre'Davious White on Rob Gronkowski and sort of get under his skin.
Aggravate him.
And nobody's a better aggravator in the NFL right now than Jalen Ramsey. But they're going to do a lot of different things. I think Telvin Smith and Miles Jack will be on Gronk a lot as well.
And a lot of it is going to be, and you want to test it. You want to bang them early, and you want to see if the refs are going to call it. How much are the refs going to get involved and throw the flag? You want to get away with as much as you can and try and aggravate them.
It's kind of like Hack-a-Shaq. Or
exactly
hack a
right.
Deion Jordan.
Yeah, right.
Until they call it, keep doing it. And Tony Baselli, the greatest Jaguar of all time, was on with us earlier, and he said, let's not mess things up. Let's do what they do defensively, and they'll figure that out within their scheme. Our scheme is to go to Bubba one more time.
Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick will miss his coordinators more than Nick Saban will miss his. Love it or shove it.
Wow. So Matt Patricia looks like he'll be with the Lions, the D coordinator. Josh McDaniels, the O coordinator, the Colts. Nick Saban is looking for his 4th offensive coordinator in like a year. He's lost a couple of D coordinators, Kirby Smart at Georgia now, and now Jeremy Pruitt took off this year to go to Tennessee. Bill Belichick will miss his coordinators more. We've seen the coordinator Saban's gone through, and he still won a national championship. Wow, that Bubba, that's a really good question.
Do you have a really good answer?
I don't have one. What do you think?
I think I'm going to shove that because I think Bill will find a way. He always does. I mean, remember after that Super Bowl, he lost Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss. Super Bowl 39, and you know what happened? They kept winning. Now, it took them a while to win another Super Bowl, but they did actually have an undefeated season after that. So, look, I'm not taking anything away from Saban, but I think Bill Belichick will do what he always does, find a way. And I think Saban will too, but I just don't think that Bill's going to miss his coordinators.
All right, I'll go with that. You talked me into it.
I did?
I'll love that as well. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really split down the middle on this one. I really am. Because I think they both can overcome
Then
them.
you want to shove it?
Yeah.
Or shove it?
Bubba won't let me do that. So I'll love it.
Doug Marrone not watching either of Tom Coughlin's Super Bowl victories over the Patriots. Love it or shove it?
Marrone says, I haven't watched them. Seriously, if I'm not in the Super Bowl, I usually don't watch it unless I have to. And that last line says it all. Why would he? What are the common players, that you're watching there?
Yeah, I love the fact that he's not watching.
Yeah, I mean,
basically the only player that's been on the field for those last 2 Super Bowls would be Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah.
The team has completely changed, and we all know that Bill Belichick does things differently every week based on the opponent he's playing.
Right.
I'm not sure what you can glean from that.
I agree. And again, the connection there with Tom Coughlin now working for Jacksonville. He was a coach when the Giants were doing that. But if there isn't a reason, just like Doug said, unless I have to, Didn't feel he had to for any X's and O's reason, so I have no problem with that at all.
And that's a common theme, by the way, for coaches. Like Herm Edwards as a player got to one Super Bowl.
Right.
Lost it 27-10 to the Raiders. And he said, I haven't watched a Super Bowl since.
Yeah.
So unless I'm in it, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be a part of it.
I'm with you.
So Doug Marrone is not alone in that mindset. All right, what else you got?
Roethlisberger, Brady, Breeze will all still be playing in 2020. Love it or shove it.
In 2020, so that would be they play 2018, 19, they have to go into their third year from now. Roethlisberger's contract expires after the 2019 season. Tom Brady's contract after the 2019 season, and Breeze is a free agent right now. I've said all along, I said before this season, Brady 3 more, so that would be 2 more, which means that wouldn't be 2020,
2018,
correct?
2019, you finish up then.
Yeah, and so all of them going 2 more seasons, then that third. I'm going to shove that one. I'm going to say they're not all going to be doing that. No.
I'm with you. I'm going to shove it as well because we can talk about, avocado ice cream.
You can want to all you want.
All you want.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's only one thing that's the all-time undefeated champ, and that's time.
Yep.
We can postpone it. We can prolong the inevitable.
Can't beat it.
But you're never going to beat it.
Yep.
And I think at the end of the day, I'm not sure any of these guys will be playing in 2020, let alone all 3 of them.
Wow, interesting. That was all the love it or shove it questions. Interesting. We put up a question at Golick and Wingo.
Yeah.
Just there's 4 minutes left in this one.
Yeah, let's take a look at these fine results. What do you got?
And basically the question is, are you Team Bubba, Team Cliff?
Right, yeah.
70%, 77% Team Bubba.
Hold on. I'm going to start auto-botting the vote.
Wow.
I mean, it's not surprising.
Cliff, how does that make you feel?
All my voters are sleeping right now.
Oh, there you go.
So all your voters aren't watching your work? That's
that makes a lot of sense.
You just undermined your own
really
cause.
did. That really hurt you.
I mean, I love you, and I'm on your team. That did not help you.
That didn't help
and by
all.
association, that did not help me. So I feel bad now.
Good job, Bubba. You're the man still,
well.
huh?
You're the king.
I mean,
how do you feel, talent?
Feel the same.
Yeah.
Came in talent, leaving talent.
With talent.
Still bored up.
With talent with your name, have your pay been upped?
Oh, it's been upped.
Oh.
And a lot of that is thanks to Granger. For the ones who get it done.
You're a smart man,
You're
Bubba.
good. You're good.
Now get out.
Yeah, no, well, I want him here to enjoy.
Bringing in Mel?
Yeah, we're
I'll
bringing
stay
him.
here. Mel can sit over there.
We want you to enjoy because you just did it. Bubba and Love It or Shove It is brought to you by Granger, the products and service you need with Bubba when you need them. Granger's got your back, and Bubba's got Granger's back to help keep your facility running. Granger, what's the tagline, Bubba?
For the ones who got it done.
Bubba.
Golick and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golick look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Mel Kiper Jr. joins us in studio giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Mel, delighted to see you in person, my friend. How are you?
The Browns are on the clock when I hear that.
That's exactly
I know when I hear that.
I know
when you say that, Trey, I know we're ready to roll.
Looking forward to what's going to be a really fun 3 days in Frisco, Texas, when the Dallas Cowboys will be the official host team of the draft in April. We're looking forward to that. And you're right. You have your first mock draft out there, and the Browns are on the clock. They have the first and the fourth pick. And like a lot of people thinking, Mel, they're going to go, you have them going quarterback and running back with those picks. But the first pick, I think, would surprise a lot of people. It's not Josh Rosen. It's not Sam Darnold. You have them taking Josh Allen, the quarterback out of Wyoming. Why?
Well, I think physical ability. You know, you look at the prototype in terms of size, arm, mobility, competitiveness, and you're the Cleveland Browns and you're playing outside. in inclement weather. You're playing in Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, and you have to have that type of skill set. He did it at Wyoming and Laramie, and certainly late in the year, you think about the shoulder, but he came back from that, played in their bowl game, and did a great job. Made every NFL throw imaginable, led his team to a victory. When the 2 games he missed, they lost to Fresno State, who he wanted to play against. That's where he's from, and Fresno State overlooked them coming out of that area. Then San Jose State, who did not have a good year at all, was a bad football team, beat Wyoming without Josh Allen. He comes back and they beat Central Michigan. So his value was huge to this program. And I know they lost some key guys.
Yeah, they did.
And you can't reload. This is Wyoming. This isn't a major power that can just all of a sudden plug great players in after great players leave. And that's why you saw some struggles early in the year from Josh Allen.
He's a guy, when you look at when he went against teams that finished with at least 7 wins, his completion percentage was 50%, 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. In the other 6 games, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, 62% completion. Yeah. That's the one thing, and I've said it many times, and I believe it. You can't always look at numbers. I look at, and I'm sure you do too, and what scouts and GMs do and coaches, what's transferable. And the one thing that does give me pause is accuracy. Now, a lot of times you have to look at films, what was dropped and all that as well, but accuracy can be a concern because what can work at the next level? What can you fix? Can you help a guy with progression? And different things in the pocket, and then there's accuracy. That was a big question about DeShone Kizer, but he fit that bill of a big, good-looking quarterback, but there was a question of accuracy, and unfortunately it was realized in the NFL, which is the reason the Browns are doing this yet again. So that's my concern, is his accuracy, Mel, and can that be fixed at the next level? I think that's one of the harder things to fix.
Well, it is, because you think about the Iowa game, and I said this back in August, long before the Iowa game, Ben Roethlisberger played at Iowa. And he looked bad. He actually came on the radio with us on ESPN radio and took full responsibility and did not play well, but he was overmatched. Miami of Ohio was overmatched by Iowa. Wyoming was overmatched by Iowa and Josie Jewell, who we'll be talking about in late April. And several of the Josh Jackson, their corner, overmatched that team. You think about the guys they lost, center Chase Roulier, running back Brian Hill, tight end Jacob Hollister, wide receiver Tanner Gentry, all in the NFL. So Wyoming's not going to replace them automatically. And it took some time and he got better. To the point about the completion percentage, I went back to 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Their college completion percentage into their career, everybody was higher than that except one. Josh McCown was at 54.8. Everybody else was above 56.2. You think about Jake Locker, 54%, bust. Kyle Bowler, 48.8, bust. So there is a concern with that completion percentage. But, again, it's Wyoming against some better, even though it's the Mountain West, there's still teams better than them talent-wise. Weather conditions always a factor there as well. And the way he finished the year against Central Michigan coming back from that shoulder, he finished strong. The other quarterbacks didn't.
That's one we're playing in that. You got these guys missing the bowl game where he could
have sat out that game.
But I think he was right to go in it because I think he did have that iffy year to where, you know what, I'm going to go in there and play
and
in this
he had
one.
A shoulder that he came back from. Could have been rusty, right? Coming back, and the weather's not going to be great. Bottom line is he played the game. He's going to play at the Senior Bowl. He's going down to Mobile. He didn't have to do that. He's an underclassman, but he's still able to go with graduation. So to me, Josh Allen finished strong. Sam Darnold did not against Ohio State play well, and he did not have a great year. And Josh Rosen, 32 days in concussion protocol, then all of a sudden wanted to play, can't play, had the shoulder surgery 2 years ago. There's some durability concerns there. So I went with the quarterback guys that finished the strongest and fits what the Browns need in terms of the weather to deal with and the size and the physicality of that quarterback, and then knowing at 4, they can get the running back or a defensive back like Minka Fitzpatrick.
Mel Kiper Jr. with us. Again, he'll be on NFL Live with us today and part of a Sports Center special tonight on ESPN2 from 7 to 9. Now, again, I just want to be clear. This is who you think they should take, not who you think they will take, correct?
This is who I think they will take.
This is who I think they will take.
This is a mock draft, not a ratings of what I think, or Todd's not going to come and say, well, I would have done this. It's about what the teams will do. Okay. So if you're hearing something from a team, then make it part of your mock. Or let me know. I'm looking for anything. I have all ideas and opinions. Bring them this way.
He's a sponge.
But the bottom line is, we don't know what free agents are going to leave. We don't know what free agents are
that's
coming.
That's the thing that's really going to change.
Needs are created, guys. Needs are created that we don't know right now. Yeah. Needs are filled based on free agency. So that's why this is a fluid thing. But what I want to do is get the names out there, put them in positions and a range where I think they will go.
While people know this name, this name I'm going to say is not as well known as in the first 5 picks. 4 are highly known names. 3 of them quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, who you have going to the Giants. Number 4, you have Saquon Barkley going to the Browns. If they get a quarterback and Saquon Barkley, that's going to be huge. Everybody's just going to think they're going to get the wrong quarterback because they've done it all the time. They got to hope to hit that one. And then number 5 at Denver, you have Sam Darnold going. Number 3, you have the Colts taking Bradley Chubb. Now, I saw him pass rush against Notre Dame when they played them, and I've seen him pass rush for the last couple of years. Love him. I can't believe when they drop him into coverage a few times. I just don't understand that whole thing. But talk about him for a minute. Number 3, the pass rusher to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I would like to have had an offensive line, but there's none. So you can't force it. So why didn't you have him take in this position? Well, there's nobody to take at that spot. You think about what Bradley Chubb brings is, and they talked about it with Myles Garrett, said, well, he takes some plays off. Nobody's going to say that about Bradley Chubb.
Right, no.
Nobody. Dave Doran came on with Daria and I on the radio about a month ago, and I asked him about Chubb, and he said, all I can tell you is, Mel, he sprints on the practice field every day. I've never seen that. And he sets the tone. You talk about tone setters for everybody else on that team.
It's like the kid Bennett from Tennessee who went to Philadelphia, the pass rusher.
Derek Barnett.
Derek Barnett. I'm sorry.
Who took Reggie White's name out of the Tennessee record book for most sacks.
He's 100 miles an hour all the time.
And that's the way he is. And Chubb for the Colts, I think that's certainly a guy you could say, hey, you could make an argument he's the best player in the draft. You could really make a strong argument on Bradley Chubb. You can make a strong argument on Micah Fitzpatrick. You can make an argument on Barkley. And to get back to Barkley with the Browns, Bill Polian's going to be joining us tonight on the SportsCenter special, 7 to 9 with Todd and Wendy Nix tonight. Well, who did Bill draft? He drafted Peyton Manning. Who did he get the next year? He got Edgerrin James. The quarterback, running back-to-back years in one swoop. In 1 year, they can get their quarterback, running back. Ironically, though, who was the last bust running back in the top group?
Trent Richardson.
Trent to the Cleveland Browns.
Exactly. And Brandon Weeden was later that same draft.
I mean, it's the Cleveland Browns, so you got to kind of, but John Dorsey, we know what a great GM he is. He's running a show in Cleveland. If you can get the quarterback and the running back, and you can, and remember, we talked about Barkley, arguably the best player in the draft. They're picking 4 and get him.
Yeah.
So if he didn't go 4, wouldn't the Jets like to see him at 6?
Well,
come on. There's a lot of teams who would like to get a Saquon Barkley early in the first round.
As Mel is with us here, his first mock draft is out. You can see the whole thing on ESPN.com and on his Twitter feed as well. Let's talk about the 2 New York teams, because the Giants have the second overall pick for only the second time in franchise history. As you well know, the last time they had the second pick, they got Lawrence Taylor. They got that one right. You have them taking the quarterback Josh Rosen. Do you see him as a guy who will sit for a year behind Eli Manning and then develop into the next franchise guy?
Could, or he's so smart. And Jed Fish said, smartest quarterback I've ever been around. NFL ever been around is Josh Rosen. Now, has he rubbed some people the wrong way?
Yeah.
I didn't think coming out and saying I don't want to be in Cleveland was a thing you should do. No. I mean, this is a guy coming off 2 years of shoulder surgery 2 years ago, the concussion protocol this year, 2 concussions. I think he's just got to go wherever, as Darnold said, I'm honored to go wherever I want to go. With Rosen, I say artistic. If you watch him throw the football, the way he spins it, the tight spirals, the catchable ball, the way he throws with anticipation, the way he maneuvers in the pocket, he's NFL ready. He's more NFL ready than any of these guys.
I think he throws the best out of the quarterbacks.
He throws a great ball.
Yeah.
Throws a great. Now, he doesn't have the howitzer for an arm.
No, he doesn't.
But it's good enough, and he just, I say artistic throwing the ball. Picture perfect throwing the football is Josh Rosen.
So you have 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. The 4th would be at 13, Washington and Baker Mayfield. How about Mason Rudolph? You don't have him in the first round. So talk about 2 guys, him and then the big X factor, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, 2 guys I thought about. Yeah, you thought about spots, but what happens in 25 to 32 is usually a trade back in. I can't project that.
I know.
Todd, when we do mocks, you can't project these trades. So you say, okay, could a team go in to get Mason Rudolph late? So could they go back in to get Lamar Jackson? Sure they could. But to say they're automatic, and this is talking to people. Like, this is not what I would say for mock drafts, it's not what we think, it's what they think. We're not one of the third. You have to talk to people in the league. And the consensus now is borderline first. Some people are looking at Lamar Jackson as a wide receiver. Why? Because he's got a lot of talent, and he completed 57% career. Okay, he wasn't at 63, 64,
and I don't know the answer.
Either.
I don't know the answer to this. Is he going to the combine? And if he is, will he practice at another position?
Now we'll see, but he wants to be a quarterback.
Yeah, I know that.
He wants to be a quarterback. And that was the whole Tebow thing. You're going to be I want to be a quarterback.
Right.
Well, you got to be open to that. Terrell Pryor was a quarterback turned wide receiver.
Exactly.
Now, will Lamar Jackson, we'll see what he can do. If we can't develop him, we have that fallback to maybe making him a wide receiver. So I think that's something we'll have to see how it evolves. But if you're drafting him in the late first, early second round, you're drafting him as a quarterback. You don't draft a projection.
No, you do not.
Yeah, Antoine Randall went high because he went down to Senior Bowl and he lit it up as a receiver return man. That's not going to be happening with Lamar Jackson.
Okay, then the other quarterback that I think is going to be the most polarizing guy in the first round is Baker Mayfield. Look, people love his competitiveness. They love the way he plays, the fire with which he plays. But there are going to be some people, Mel, that look at Baker and say, well, we've seen some things that sort of are Manziel-esque, and that clearly that did not work out for Johnny, also drafted by the Cleveland Browns. What is your take on what the perception is of Baker at the NFL level?
I think people love his competitiveness, love how he galvanizes the team, the players, the coaches, everybody goes to bat for him. They love him. They'll do everything positive about Baker Mayfield. The way he throws the football on the move, in the pocket. You think about accuracy, precise passing. He has that. Passes batted down for being 6 feet tall. You don't see that. Mm-hmm. So does he have a Russell Wilson frame? Is he going to be Russell Wilson?
Is he fast enough to be Russell Wilson?
Well, the way he moves around, the way on game day when you watch him play, he's a guy that almost wills his team to victory. And you say, well, what happened in the playoff game? He got stung. He got hit in that game.
Did.
And you can like a boxer, you say he got stung. And you kind of hurt him. And you could see it, something hurt him. And they went away from him late. And I was critical of Lincoln Riley, going away from Rodney Anderson, who was having a great game, the running back, going away from Baker Mayfield, putting the ball in the hands of two guys that hadn't touched the ball. But Baker wasn't Baker at the end of that game. But when he is Baker Mayfield, somebody, and I said mid-first round, I think Washington at 13, if you can't get Cousins deal done, then you move on maybe to Baker. That's a hot spot, though, for a trade because nobody really fits Washington. So you got Arizona at 15. That's a place where somebody jumps up like Kansas City did for Patrick Mahomes, like Houston did for Deshaun Watson. That's kind of the hot spot for maybe a Baker Mayfield slide up for somebody to get him.
He got his eyes watered in that game. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think from the quarterback position, there's another one that has just that intangible it factor of just, you know, he's a magnitude, a leader to the players, and he's one I really want to keep my eye on.
Now, to the point about the antics would have to go away. I think he's got. I don't
think he's going to do much of that at that level.
Yeah,
he hope
he
down
puts that stuff's got to go. You got to be the CEO. I think he understands. Be professional, classy. Be the quarterback that everybody knows. Hey, we're not going to get that 3:00 a.m. call about anything that's going on here. Right. So I think if he can solidify that in the interview process and everybody's reconciled to the fact that he is mature and he's learned from his mistakes, then you can take him in the mid-first round.
The it factor is nice. The performance factor would be better.
Yeah, without question.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.